This is Dream Power Radio, the place where your dreams turn into reality. Here is your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Dream Power Radio. This is the place where we talk about our dreams, both daytime and nighttime dreams, and how you can use them to make the internal shift to a life you love and rediscover the truth of who you really are. By now, you must know all the insights we can get from our dreams, everything from answers to personal issues, visitations from departed loved ones, and even premonitions about future events. What if you got a dream that told you that you were meant to be a healer? How would you react to it? If this came to you as a surprise, you might probably just ignore it, believing it was just some random thought from your subconscious. What if you got this dream for 4 straight months? Could you ignore it then? Well, that's what happened to my guest today, Roxanne Chaput. She took it to heart and is now an internationally recognized generational earth shaman, committed to connecting souls with their divine essence. What does that mean? And how can that help you? Well, let's have her tell us herself. Welcome to Dream Power Radio, Roxanne.
I'm so honored to be here, Debbie. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited for this conversation today.
So am I. But Roxanne, I want to start with this. Why don't you tell me about those dreams and what exactly did they tell you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a reoccurring dream for almost 4 months straight. And in my dream, before I go into my dream, I really want to preface that I come from a Métis tribal community here in Canada. So that is Native American and French. And we have a Métis tribal community here. And I was receiving this dream for almost 4 months straight. And it was this beautiful Indigenous woman that was coming to me. She was standing in front of this ravina and she had these teepees beside her and her arms were extended to me. And she kept chanting me this very melancholy song. And it was so serene. It was so beautiful. And I just remember thinking and feeling so much gratitude and so much love for her. Like she was like my maternal grandmother, great grandmother, great great grandmother. Like I just felt like that imminent love just exuding from her. And every morning I'd wake up and I'd start chanting the song around the home. And my partner would be like, wow, like that's a really beautiful song. And I said, well, this is what she sings to me every single night. And he's like, wow, that's really beautiful. I'm like, I know. I'm like, I don't know what she's trying to tell me. I'm seeing the land. I do dream interpretations. I see that she's calling me to the land, but I've never seen this land before. Where am I going? What am I doing with this information? And I ended up connecting with one of our elders in our Métis tribal community, who is also a shaman. And I was telling him of my dream. And he said, she's calling you to the land. And I said, yes. And he said, she's calling you to the land to come and heal. I'm like, to come and heal. He said, you're meant to be a healer. And I'm like, meant to be a healer. Like, what am I doing with this information? Where do I start? Where do I go? And I was really excited, really nervous, and wondering what are the next steps. And I started chanting him the song that she was singing to me in my dream. And he took a step back and he said, oh my goodness. He said, that song hasn't been heard in healing circles for over 100 years. He said, my great grandfather, because he comes from a generation of shamans as well. And he was like, my great grandfather used to chant that song to me right before bedtime, but never in the form of healing circle. So then goosebumps went through the entirety of my body. What am I doing with this information? And he said, it's same like musicality pretty much in his own words, but it's like she customizes it. It's like a different rendition for you, but the actual part of the song is the healing song. And I just remember leaving so perplexed. And I had asked him, what am I supposed to do with this? And he's like, it will come to you in vision. It will come to you in dream. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was trying to Google it. I was trying to figure out maybe what does this dream signify and where am I being called to go? Obviously, there was no resolve on Google. So I ended up meeting with this incredible spiritual guide shortly after. And there was no connection to her in the elder of my tribal community. And I was telling her of my dream. And she was like, yeah, she's calling you to land. I said, yes. She said, you're meant to be a healer. I said, yes, like that's what I was told. And she said, you're actually meant to be a shaman. I'm like, shaman? What am I doing with this information? And she's like, again, it will come to you in vision. Oh my goodness. Okay. I guess I'm just going to have to be patient. And the last night that I had the dream, I woke up in the morning And I told my partner, I said, listen, I'm being called to the land to come and heal. I can't explain where I'm going, but I just know that I need to go there. And I got in my car, it was pouring rain outside. And he was like, oh my goodness, like you're going in the pouring rain in the forest with bears and wolves without any protection. I felt protected, but he's just bring something for me. And yeah, it was just an incredible journey from that point. And that whole experience, it was like this profound reconnection to my lineage, a reconnection to my sacred purpose, and just a reconnection to what I was intended to do in this lifetime. So it was just a very powerful thing for me.
Yeah, one of the things that you discovered that you actually came from a long lineage of healers.
Yeah. And it's funny because we never really spoke about my heritage growing up, because not that we were ashamed of it or any way, but there was fear around our heritage just because everything that had happened within the history of Canada. And people were scared to claim that they were Indigenous if they didn't look of Indigenous descent because of all of the stigmatization, everything that happened in the Canadian history in regards to the Indigenous people. So it wasn't something that our family spoke about. We knew where we came from, we knew our originations, but we didn't understand the the intricacies of our lineage. And it came to me in countless dreams. And she was obviously a part of my lineage. And it was just like all these visions came to me, and I was able to piece it all together and recognize that this has been in our lineage for countless years. And a lot of like the lineages, like the generations before me, had kind of negated on their own healing modalities just because in fear of those repercussions.
Yeah. And around how old were you when all of this happened?
I was in my early 30s.
So you had already had an adult life and you were out in the world. How did you make that adjustment from going from whatever job you had to saying, I'm going to be a healer and go and help the world?
Yeah. And it's funny because I always had this profound knowingness since I was a little girl that I was being called to serve. And I always remember feeling really gravitated and very receptive to energy. I would really be able to see someone's life story just by connection with them and just by connecting in their story. I could literally understand not just this lifetime. And I didn't understand that there was previous lifetimes, but I could understand things that they couldn't fully understand. And I remember family, friends, and just people that I would encounter would always kind of refer to me as an old soul, a wise soul. And as a young child, adults were coming to me for guidance. They were asking me what their next move should be or what path they should take, and like just trying to understand what my insight was. And I didn't understand that that was my gift. And I remember my mom always being taken back and be like, you should really be a psychologist or a social worker or something of that nature. But it never spoke true to me. And I did end up working in healthcare for over 13 years. And when I really like stepped into the healing, I was already working as an executive. I already owned my own business. I was already doing coaching and guiding, and like in conjunction with this full-time executive position. So it was a drastic shift and pivot for my family just because it was that lucrative salary, benefits, pension, all those good things, to moving into something that was very unknown and foreign to them in this lifetime. So, but you know what? They were very supportive and very loving toward it and really just embraced it. And they were like, we see you doing this, and this is exactly what you're supposed to be doing. So it was just a beautiful support system of really just stepping into it.
I know people listening to this on the podcast can't see your face, but you're just glowing when you're telling this story. It's like you can feel it's coming from someplace deep within you, coming out. You call yourself a generational earth shaman. What exactly does that mean?
So, earth shaman. So, this came to me in vision and actually from a few celestial guides that I encountered throughout my journey here. And it was all very similar in terms of that I had this celestial guidance component of healing, really stemming from ancient light healing. And then there was this earth part of that lineage of that ancestry that was coming in, which was more of the plant medicines, more of the grounding, the animal kingdom, the elements of Mother Earth here on this earth plane. And then I also have a lot of things that I'm connected into the cosmics and into more of the omniversal gifts that I also bring in conjunction with these earth shaman, what we like to call it, where it kind of allows me to be a little bit more stable, even though we travel to different realms. And then the celestial guidance component. So it really is just a beautiful synergetic connection and a really understanding of the teachings of the indigenous ancient medicine man, the ancient medicine woman, to really understand how to heal the physical body, the emotional body, and then obviously already doing the cellular complex, the energetic body.
Yeah, I want to get into that whole idea of healing on a cellular level. What is involved with that?
Absolutely. So we are multidimensional beings, and we know this through not just through our own spiritual practice, but we know this through science, and we know this through religious structures that we do in fact have a soul essence. It has been proven in science that we do have a soul essence. And we know that we are made of energy. We have our central energy chakras. We have tons of little mini chakra systems throughout the entirety of our body that are called our meridians. So our biggest disposition of who we are, the biggest entity of who we are is energy. And because our energy, according to science, according to religion, and according to our spiritual practices, energy never dies. So knowing that energy never dies doesn't mean that we live countless lifetimes in this earth plane, but it means that we've lived countless life cycles throughout the galaxy. So knowing that our energy is the biggest disposition within us, when we are trying to heal one aspect of our being, when we have mental health illness, or we have a physical illness within our body, or an emotional illness within our body where our emotions are trapped within our body, we know that it all stems in the cellular complex and the energetic complex. And we call this a progression of disease. So depending where the energy and where it's disrupted and where there's misplaced energy, it is where we see those stems of the more progressive symptoms of like depression, anxiety, autoimmune diseases, cancers, illnesses in that regard. So when we're healing, and no healer heals someone else, right? A healer guides you to heal yourself. We know how to move that misplaced energy and extract those entities or do soul retrievals. But at the end of the day, it's your cellular complex that heals itself. So we're just going in and we're letting you know where these disruptions are. And then we remove that so that your actual energy, like your auric, can actually heal the way that it's intended to. So when we talk about healing, when we're healing our wound, we open a big gash on our arm, and our body naturally knows what to do. The response of the body is to heal it, to create new cells, and to regenerate those cells in order to heal the body. Well, now imagine having that gaping wound and shoving a massive rock in it. Your wound is not going to heal the way that it's intended to. One, it's probably going to poison your bloodstream, and it's going to cause a greater infection throughout your body. It's the same thing that happens at the cellular complex. When we have a disruption, or if we have an imprint, we're not able to heal the way that it's intended to. So when we don't feel like ourselves, when we know that our emotions are trapped within us, it all affects our chakra systems, it affects our meridians within our body, and it affects the way that our body is supposed to be operating. So knowing that we are multidimensional beings, we can't just heal one facet. We need to be able to heal all the layers of our being. So if we have a physical wound, and I'm sure that you've witnessed this throughout your life, if anyone has an illness and their mentality, right, the intellectual body isn't in agreement with them healing that, or they can't be able to go into that positive state of thinking, or knowing that they're going to heal and that they're going to overcome something. I've worked in healthcare for over 13 years, and witnessing cancer patients, the ones that have that mindset that they know and they focus on healing themselves and they're loving themselves throughout their journey, actually heal at a greater level than those that are in a mindset of negativity and heaviness, right? It's just, that's what science is. So when we understand that, so we already know just from that one component that the physical body can't heal without the intellectual body being in the same alignment as it. And the same holds true with our cellular complex and our emotional body as well.
That is so important. And I want to get into that more, but we have to take a short break now. We are speaking all about healing with Roxanne Chaput, and we'll be right back. If you're not pleased with the trajectory of your life, the time to begin your own personal transformation is now, and your dreams can help pave the way. How? By tapping into your unvoiced confidence. What is unvoiced confidence, you say? It's the acceptance of your abilities and qualities. It's a state of mind coming from liking and even loving yourself. and feeling free to say or do anything you want without concern for the judgment of others. You were born confident, but may have had it chipped away little by the negative self-beliefs you've picked up over the years. If you're looking for the heightened energy, clarity of thought, and the feeling of being more alive that comes from self-confidence, you can rediscover it by paying attention to your dreams. Need some help doing this? Go to my website, thedreamcoach.net, and sign up for my complimentary dream discovery session. I can help show you how your dreams can help you return to the confident person you were always meant to be. Again, go to thedreamcoach.net. thedreamcoach.net.
Welcome back to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Yes, welcome back to Dream Power Radio. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, and we're talking all about healing with Roxanne Chaput. Well, Roxanne, you're saying so much about how you help people heal themselves by getting down to the cellular level. Do you think that all diseases originate in a disruption in the soul?
We believe in shamanism that it does. And we do believe that it happens in the energy field. So not that our soul essence is corrupt or anything of that nature, because when we come in, right, when we leave this planetary system, what we believe is our soul essence becomes, again, in its divine purity of perfection. So when it comes to the earth plane, it is here to learn lessons and it's signed up to have certain experiences. But our energy field, what happens is that not just in terms of your own lifetime, but think about the generations before you of how that already affected your energetic imprint, which we can call and we can refer to as our DNA molecules that are they're malleable, where we have the epigenetics, where we can actually change our coding and our structure within our lineages. So that's a really incredible thing to know. But it also means that generations before us, the lineages before us, have also impacted our energy field in this now lifetime. So when we think about our belief systems, when we think about the experiences that we've went through in this lifetime of childhood wounds, any words that created an imprint within our energy field that we haven't been able to release, right? So if you ever were a child and you were ever bullied, you know that those words probably still carry through to this day. That carries in our energy field, right? Because every word, every emotion carries energy. So it's a thought form. A thought form carries energy. And that's why when we speak about the law of attraction and we think about the guiding principles of the universal laws, is to understand that everything carries its own vibrational frequency. And if everything carries its own vibrational frequency, that means that it has an impact within our cellular complex, within our energy field. So to me, as a healer or a shaman, whatever we want to refer it to, it's really important for me to be able to go at all of the intrinsic layers of a human being. So not just the cellular complex, but going at the physical, going to the emotional, going into the intellectual, the mental body, and going into the spiritual, so that we can get all of these bodies to work in harmony, opposed to working against one another, right? The ego is there to keep us safe, but in the same breath, it holds on to things that really are causing disruptions within our life, where it creates a lot of psychological fear, anxiety, stress, all of those things that really aren't conducive to our optimal health. We have a good stress, and then we have a stress that really isn't relevant to our day-to-day life. We're not in a constant fight or flight on a daily basis in our daily life. So it's really just to be able to understand that everything has its own imprint and its own disruption. So that is the importance of this work, and why we call it a soul and self-mastery journey, is because it's a never-ending practice. And we're always working on our belief systems, our activations, our triggering, and really understanding the deconstruction of who we actually are, instead of the construction of what we were built on that really doesn't speak in our own truth.
In our Western culture, we've been trained, go to a doctor, get a pill, have a procedure, and that's how you get healed. You are healed by somebody else. And what you're saying is that we actually have the power to heal ourselves when we're directed that way. Is it difficult for you to express that philosophy to people you meet?
No, because I think it's really important to understand, just like our physical body, Our cellular body is no different. Our emotional and our intellectual body is no different. It naturally knows how to heal itself. It's us that gets in the way of its healing, right? It's us that goes outside of ourselves to get things that really aren't conducive to our healing journey. And when we think about Western modern day medicine, it's not to say that it's bad. Nothing is good or bad in that term, but not everything is actually needed. When you have anxiety and depression, it's not here, just take a pill because you have a chemical imbalancement in your brain. There's something else that is originating why you are actually depressed and anxious. I mean, shamanism has been around for over 100,000 years, and there's a reason why. It's a beautiful way to be able to guide you to heal yourself. It's about empowering yourself to heal yourself, not looking to others and coming from a place of disempowerment where you need somebody else to heal you. When a pill doesn't heal you, it's like a Band-Aid solution, right? So there are things that we do need throughout our life that if we want to have a really healthy life, that we may need to have a procedure or whatnot, but that's up to the individual at that point. But I think that it's really important to understand that we are all capable of healing ourselves. And it doesn't mean that we are curing everything. It means that we're healing and a component that we understand that I'm experiencing anxiety and depression. And in shamanism, what we believe is that there has been soul loss there in order for that depression and that anxiety to be able to creep in. And we could talk about soul loss a little bit, but essentially what it is just a little piece of us has left us and we don't feel like ourselves. We don't feel in the element of our own thinking patterns. No child comes into this earthly plane depressed and anxious and not loving themselves, right? Unless they were taught to do so. So it's really important to understand that we are already whole. We are already perfection, but it's understanding how do we get back to that place where we know that we are actually capable of healing the entirety of who we are.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the specifics. How do you help somebody recover and at the soul loss and realize that they are whole and complete the way they are and not whatever, things have gotten into their mind to make them think otherwise?
Right. And I think that when we think about this also is that there's also the other component where a lot of people are disconnected to their own emotional body, of their own emotions, where they think that they're suppressing them, but I don't call it suppression. I call it pressurizing, right? Because we pressurize an emotion and then it transmutes into something different, such as anger, frustration, resentment, guilt, or whatnot. So it's really important to understand that also can happen. But soul retrieval and soul loss in shamanism, what we do is we go and retrieve those little soul essences and we bring them back to the like the oversoul, essentially, like the main soul of the person. We bring that back into their being because a lot of people and the clients that I've worked with experience a lot of soul loss as a child. Or even sometimes in the womb, they can experience a little bit of that soul loss if a traumatic event has happened while they were in the womb. So it's really important to understand that. So when you don't feel like yourself anymore, when you don't feel like, your thoughts are you don't feel like you're actually experiencing your own emotions and you feel like there's this fog, it's not just what we call depression. There's something deeper than that that's happening at the cellular level. It's about understanding where those belief systems are coming from, understanding where those imprints are laying within the energy field that are causing those disruptions. So we have a progression, a stage of progression, just like we have stages of illnesses. And there's the first progression, the second progression, the third, and the fourth. And all of those things are able to shift. The fourth is a little bit harder because that means that it's something that has been there for a very long time. And now it's impacting the health at a point where it's overridden the system at that point because it's been there for so long. So that's why it's important to be able, when working with clients, that they express their emotions, that they express their voice, that they really understand that their belief systems a lot of the times are actually not even their own belief systems. They have been constructed and they have been created in them from other people, from the educational system, from their parents, from their upbringing, from family or friends, or from relationships, intimate relationships that they've experienced. So it's really about understanding what is mine and what isn't mine. What do I need to release and what do I need to surrender? It's about having that awareness. The first thing to any part of our mastery journey is awareness.
I know everybody is different, and what you're doing is really helping people get to the cause of what is ailing them and not just dealing with the symptoms. But could you walk me through maybe some of the techniques that you might use to help have a person heal themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. So usually what I like to do in my own practice, and every shaman is different, every shaman has their own specialties. So for me, I usually like to start off with the intellectual body first. And then it's like a mechanism that once we go into the intellectual body, once we understand the cyclings, the patterns, the belief systems, we go into the emotional body, understanding the emotions, where the emotions are stuck. And then we do ceremonies in order to release those emotions, because it's energy, right? Emotion, energetic motion. So we release the emotion from the body, because a lot of us hold our emotions in our body, even though we think that we didn't say what we needed to say. And, like we've let it go and we've forgiven it. A lot of the times we're still holding that in our body. And sometimes we can hold it in our necks and our shoulders, on our chest. We can hold it in our hips and our back. So if we're having those body aches and those body pains, it's more than likely it's an emotion that's creating that disruption within the physical being. We're just seeing the symptom present itself in the physical body, but it's actually rooted in the emotional body at that point. So really working in that emotional body, and that usually alleviates everything in the physical body. And then we go into the cellular complex. So we do tons of ceremonies depending, every client is different. So for some clients, I really have to do ceremonies that connect them to their emotional body, their heart space, because a lot of people haven't actually connected with their heart space, don't even know the emotions that they feel, don't even know the sadness and why they feel that sadness or they feel that heaviness in their chest. So we do a lot of ceremony around the emotional body, the emotional heart space, and then we work into more of the spiritual essence. So if I have to do soul retrievals, energetic extractions where we remove that misplaced energy, it just depends on the person and what they need in that now moment.
Yeah, okay, you're talking about ceremony, and about ceremony, I think of people gathering around, but it's just you and the person, right?
Yeah, like you can do group ceremony, but I just work solely individual. So I do individual work. So ceremony is just, it's about you going into your own ceremony. And ceremony, we can call it a different name. We can call it a deep meditative state. We're going into that theta state of healing where we can actually heal those aspects. And we're going into a place beyond the subconscious, right? Because as you know, I'm sure that you've had a lot of incredible experts on here, that our subconscious holds a lot of things that we're not aware of in our conscious body, but then we also have our hyperconscious and our soul conscious and our soul memory that we're definitely not aware of. So things that we react in a certain way or that we're triggered can also stem from our soul memory. So it's really understanding that as well.
Absolutely. Roxanne, is there a final thought you'd like to leave for our audience?
Yeah, I think I just would love to say that trust where you're being guided. If you know that you just have this curiosity to really explore a little bit further within you, then do so. Believe in yourself and always trust your intuition and your guiding voice. It is never wrong.
That is so true. Well, Roxanne, how can people find out more about you and your work?
Absolutely. They can connect with me through social media under Roxanne Chaput, anywhere on any platform, and my website at roxannechaput.com.
Wonderful. Well, Roxanne, thank you so much for being on Dream Power Radio today.
Thank you, Debbie, for having me. It was such an honor.
Okay, we've been speaking with generational earth shaman Roxanne Chaput. I hope you've enjoyed today's program. If so, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Until next time, this is Debbie Spector Weissman saying, sweet dreams, everybody.
You've been listening to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector Weissman. For more information on Debbie or to sign up for her newsletter, go to dreampowerradio.com. This has been Dream Power Radio.